Nobody told you. That's the strangest part. Not a teacher, not a parent, not a single person in your life sat you down and said, hey, the way your brain works, that's not normal. That's actually rare. Instead, you probably spent years thinking something was slightly off about you. Too much in your head, too intense, too restless, never quite fitting the mold. Here's what they missed. Those weren't flaws. Those were signals. Psychological research on giftedness, actual, peer-reviewed, decades-long research, keeps turning up the same finding. The people who carry these traits almost never recognize them as gifts, because from the inside, they don't feel like gifts. They feel like weight. So today, we're going through 10 of them. Not IQ tests, not report cards, the quiet, everyday patterns that actually matter. If this channel is new to you, hit subscribe and leave a like. It genuinely helps us keep making content like this. Sign 1. Your nervous system turns everything up. Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski spent years studying gifted individuals and found something fascinating. Their nervous systems aren't just active, they're amplified. A piece of music doesn't just sound good, it hits somewhere deep. An idea doesn't just interest you, it takes over your week. A harsh word from someone doesn't just sting, it echoes. Dabrowski called this overexcitability. It sounds clinical. What it actually means is you experience life at a higher volume than most people around you. That's not a disorder, that's a signal. Sign 2. You cannot leave a why unanswered. As a kid, you probably exhausted every adult in the room. Not to be annoying, you genuinely needed to understand the mechanism behind things, not just the rule. That habit never left. You find it almost physically uncomfortable to accept surface-level explanations. Interestingly, research shows gifted minds are actually very comfortable with open, unresolved questions. They just can't stop turning them over. While most people want the quick answer, you want the accurate one. Sign 3. You've spent most of your life feeling slightly out of frequency with the people around you. Not superior, not antisocial, just off by a degree. Conversations that others find satisfying leave you feeling like something was missing. Humor lands wrong. References go nowhere. The Gifted Development Center has documented this across thousands of interviews. Gifted adults consistently report a quiet, low-grade loneliness that's incredibly hard to articulate. The honest version is it's not that you can't connect, it's that real connection, for you, requires a specific kind of depth, and that isn't always easy to find. Sign 4. You are your own cruelest critic by a wide margin. This isn't the kind of perfectionism where you just like things neat. This is a painful gap between the standard your mind sets and what actually lands on the page. Gifted individuals hold themselves to internal benchmarks that nobody else can even see, which means even when others are genuinely impressed by your work, you've already cataloged exactly where it fell short. Research links this to high metacognitive ability. Your brain is unusually good at auditing its own thinking. That's a rare skill. It's also exhausting. Sign 5. You learned early how to make yourself smaller. Researchers call it intellectual camouflage. Many gifted individuals, especially those who grew up in environments where standing out felt risky, learn to slow themselves down in conversation, let others answer first, not ask the question they already knew. Being too fast, too curious, too much made people uncomfortable, so you adjusted. Over time, that adjustment became so natural that some gifted adults genuinely lose track of what they're capable of. The camouflage becomes the identity. That's a real loss. Sign 6. Your mind connects things that have no obvious business being connected. This is divergent thinking. Your brain doesn't move in a straight line, it moves in webs. A conversation about architecture sparks an idea about communication. A nature documentary suddenly explains something about your relationship dynamics. Neuroscience research has found that gifted individuals often show greater connectivity between brain regions that don't typically communicate. Your brain is literally cross-wired to find patterns others miss. Sign 7. Injustice doesn't just bother you, it physically bothers you. Gifted individuals tend to develop moral sensitivity early and keep it their whole lives. It's not about being righteous, it's a deep gut-level reaction when something is unfair, even when it has nothing to do with you, even when everyone else has already moved on. Navigating a world full of small injustices, when you can't stop noticing them, is genuinely tiring. Sign 8. Boredom isn't passive for you, it's almost painful. Researchers link this to high stimulation needs in individuals with highly active prefrontal cortex functioning. Your brain doesn't just idle when it's understimulated, it generates its own input: worry, daydreaming, restlessness. What looks like distraction from the outside is your mind scanning urgently for something worth thinking about. Sign 9. You feel things more thoroughly than you'd prefer. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on high sensitivity overlaps significantly with giftedness research. What it shows is that gifted individuals process emotional experiences more slowly, more thoroughly, and more deeply than average. The amygdala, your brain's emotional core, shows greater reactivity in highly intelligent individuals. You feel more because your brain is built differently. Sign 10. Compliments slide right off you. Imposter phenomenon hits gifted people especially hard, and there's a specific reason why. The higher your internal standard, the more convinced you are that you haven't met it, regardless of what anyone else says. Your awareness of everything you don't know is vast, and because your mind is always reaching further, it never quite lands on the feeling of being enough. That's not humility, that's a pattern, and recognizing the pattern is the first step to loosening its grip. Here's the quiet thread running through all 10 of these. Giftedness, in the real psychological sense, isn't about achievement. It's about how you process the world, with more intensity, more depth, more relentlessness than most people around you. And because that doesn't feel like a gift from the inside, because it has its own very specific weight, a lot of gifted people spend decades wondering why they feel so different and never once land on the actual reason. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these hit closest to home? Drop it in the comments and be specific. You might be surprised how many people in this community are going to read your comment and feel far less alone.